Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Eddie Jennings from EJSLLC.com. This video is going to be answering what may seem like kind of an obvious question about whether or not we as IT professionals, our job is to protect the business from itself. Before I dive into that, I want to remind you, if you enjoy the content of the video, make sure you click like and also subscribe to the channel. And when you do, ring the bell when you subscribe so you can be aware of when new content comes available. I want to welcome back current subscribers. I hope you enjoy this video as you have enjoyed others that I've placed onto the channel. And again, don't forget to click like on the videos. Clicking like gives me an idea of what content is interesting to you, and it gives me some direction for content in the future. So diving right in, the question of whether or not it's an IT professional's job to protect the business from itself or save the business from itself. And an obvious answer might be, well, yes, it is. But I'm going to present possibly an alternative view to that. In my opinion, the answer to the question is it depends. And one of the things it depends on is what actions that you feel that you're needing to take. And this often will present itself in a manner to where whatever job that you're at as an IT professional, you will be asked to do some technical task, and it sets off the warning in your head of, this is a bad idea, why are we doing this? And I want to dive for a moment into what that warning happens, and also take a step back as far as what our job is as IT professionals. And notice so far I have not mentioned anything about system administrators or network administrators or database administrators or engineers or anything like that. I'm speaking just as IT professionals, because this particular thing can apply to any of us, no matter what sub area of IT that you're in. And our job as IT professionals is quite simple. We are here to solve business problems, and the tools that we use for that are technology, and usually some type of technology infrastructure. No more, no less. That is what an IT professional's job is. We are a function of the business itself. Even though our name is information technology, we don't exist for the technology. We exist for the business, to solve the business's problems or help the business achieve whatever goals that it's trying to achieve. And I encourage you to kind of take a moment and see if you're actually doing that role in your job as an IT professional. For me, once I started in IT, it took me a couple of years for that to really sink in, as far as my job is not just, manage the network or manage the servers or manage user accounts, all that kind of stuff. I mean, there's things we do in our job, but our job is to solve business problems and, users that need to be able to communicate to one another. Well, the business problem that we're solving there is communication needs, and we do that through, having something like an exchange system for email and that kind of thing. So that's one thing to keep in mind as far as what's our job as an IT professional, and it's to solve the business's problems and help the business reach whatever goals it reaches. So that goes into the next point of, how do you know what the business goals are? And the only entity that can answer that is the ownership of the business, whether that's a single person and, a small business where you have, just the one executive, or that's a larger business where you might have, an executive team that eventually does filter back to a single owner. Or if you're in a situation where you're a large corporation and you're like a publicly traded corporation, and so therefore you have shareholders that ultimately the business is answering to. The point being, those are the only entities that actually can answer the question of what are the business goals, or really identify what the business itself considers to be problems. All right, so we have those 2 points. Our job as IT professionals is solve business problems and help business reach its goals. Usually the tools we use are technologically based, and typically some type of infrastructure tools, such as email system or network or databases, on and on and on. And then the question of what are the business goals, that falls to the ownership of the business. So where the question comes in of, is it our job to protect the business from itself? The answer there is it depends. And I'll give you an example of where the it depends comes from. So let's say that you're working IT for a small business, or maybe you're not necessarily in IT for a small business, but you might do some IT like work without actually being quote IT for that small business. And the question comes up of, do we hire a full-time person to do IT for that business, or do we look to some type of managed service provider or IT service provider to give the business that particular service? Well, and I'm sure the answer to this question is wide and varied depending on who you ask. But in my opinion, for that small business, they will probably get like more bang for their buck and better service by using a service provider, simply because that service provider, by the nature of them, being a business, are probably going to be more available than a single full-time IT person, just from the fact that that single full-time IT person is going to have to sleep at some point. Another thing that a service provider can often bring is some expertise in areas, such as your generalist that you have for your small business might be very good and know a lot of things. I mean, I enjoy being a generalist, but it's not possible for that person to be a specialist in everything, and they will inevitably come upon things where they're outside of their comfort skill as far as expertise. Whereas that service provider might have a person on staff who eats, breathes, drinks, exchange, and then a person on staff that eats, breathes, drinks, network, and on and on and on, and they can rely on those sources. Another advantage of that managed provider is there's probably a significant cost savings in the fact that if you have a full-time person on your staff, then you have to start dealing with payroll taxes and benefits and all that kind of stuff that aren't a thing when you have hired a company to provide this service for your business. So on the other hand, you might the ownership of the business might see a different value in that in hiring that full-time IT staff. And they might see something such as, all right, so it's not possible for this person to know everything there is to know. It's not possible for this person to be available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. But they see value in having that person during normal business hours on site that their users can talk to and see face to face. While that's not necessarily some type of technical benefit, there's a human piece to that. And so where this comes from, so you might be in a position of helping make this decision, or possibly in a research role of, all right, so do we get that full-time IT person, or do we use the managed provider? And from your perspective, you might be in the camp of, well, these are all the benefits of that managed provider. It doesn't make sense for us to use the IT professional. But ultimately, who has to make the call? The call comes from ownership, and ownership might decide what for what the business wants. And again, the owner is the business. It's their business. This is the path we want to go, and then get that full-time IT person. So where this comes back into the question of, do you protect the business from itself? Well, in that case, if ownership specifically wants to have that full-time IT person, you as a person that's a part of that decision-making process says, nope, this is a bad idea, then you've done all you can. I mean, all you can do is present your side of the argument to ownership. This is the reason why I feel this way, but it's ultimately the owner's call. So really, you're protecting the business by giving the alternative point of view to that. Where this would become a problem is if you have this kind of crusade going on to where you're so convinced if the business makes this decision of getting the full-time IT person versus the managed provider, it's going to destroy the business, and you start taking some type of step to sabotage the ownership's efforts to do that, such as, you might be in a position where you would be a part of the hiring of this IT person, and you really don't want that to happen. You want to use the managed provider, so you end up going through candidates and going, nope, this person's not going to be a good fit, on and on and on, effectively sabotaging what the ownership wants to do in favor of your view of what the business should be. Some people see that as protecting the business, and in my opinion, that is the wrong thing to do. So if the question is, do I sabotage what ownership wants to do with their business to protect the business? In my opinion, the answer is no in that, because who knows what the business wants? That is the ownership. Now, it's entirely possible that you'll be in a situation where ownership doesn't really, they may not know what they actually want for the business. Well, that's where your job comes in, especially in IT, is, we're there to provide advice and such. So another example, and this again goes into the it depends realm as far as, how far you go to, quote, protect the business from itself. In our capacity as IT professionals, again, our job is to help solve business problems and to help the business reach whatever goals it has. Let's say that business has a particular goal, and to reach this goal, they want to deploy X software, and so you get the memo from the boss. We are deploying this thing, and that kind of shoots our alarms in your head going, hey, this is a bad idea. Perhaps you've dealt with this particular application before and it's terrible and it causes all sorts of problems, and it doesn't really do what we say it does. Well, again, how do you protect the business? You do that by going to your chain of command and saying, look, this is the experience I've had with this. It's probably not going to work. Can you help me understand what the business is trying to do? And we help them find a good solution, versus being real combative about it and refusing to support the software and such. That's just not the right way to handle it, because remember, the goal is solve the business problem or help the business meet its goal. So our position in IT should always be of that advisory nature. As far as protecting the business against itself, you would help advise the business to decisions that would be wise for it, but not if the business, and by the business I'm talking ownership and such, the folks that actually can decide what's good for the business. If the business ultimately wants to go forward with something that you disagree with, it's not your position to stop that once the proper arguments have been made and the like. Now, I want to take a step back on that, and you might be in a situation where there's some type of regulatory issue at play. Well, in that case, you might do need to step in and truly try to put a stop to what ownership is doing. But that is a little bit different, in my opinion, than just you disagreeing with what the stakeholders of the business have decided is what the business is going to do, and you simply thinking it's a bad idea, versus we're potentially breaking some type of a law here and such. So if you're faced with this situation, you really have two options. Option one, and of course this is after you've exhausted your efforts to try to get more information about what the business is trying to do and how we can better solve whatever the problem is. Your option is to accept this is what ownership of the business has decided to do and support that to the best of your ability. Option two is leave. Now, that may seem kind of stark, but if you think about it, those really are your only options, unless you yourself are the owner of the business, of which you then wield that power of determining what the business needs are and what the business goals are. So in that scenario of having to choose of whether or not you're going to go along with what's happening or leave, know this: it really depends on the management structure of your company as far as how you make that choice. My first job in IT was with a small business. I had my manager who reported to one of the C-levels, and the C-levels were all co-owners of the business, right? In that environment, I'd see the CEO every day. That person would come in, we say hi and and get to work. And so it was easier to be able to present some of the arguments of, all right, you want us to do this, help me understand what the business goal is, so I can help you find what the right solution is. And there will be times where we disagreed, and that's fine. You go along with it. When it's time to leave, that would be situations where you're always butting heads with what the business goals are and what ownership is saying this is what the business wants to do. And in that case, you need to go. You need to find a business that better aligns with kind of your philosophies of how business should be done and such. That's not a bad thing. It's just the way it is. Employment's always a two-way street. The business is looking for someone that's aligned with them, and then you are looking for a business to work for that's aligned with you. The communication part of this, I think, can be a challenge in a larger business, such as where I'm working now, where there's, between my position and the owner of the company, there's, I think, four layers of management there. And so you may be in situations where you have to just choose whether or not, hey, we're going to go along with this, and you're just going to have to accept it, because you probably have a smaller chance of being able to see the overall business picture. And so what you might see as a grave problem with this business decision, you might not see the fact that ownership may have taken into account your concerns and have done risk analysis and have determined, while that's a problem, it's for what we're getting out of the thing, it's a negligible risk. So in that situation, you really either you choose to leave, or you have to make that decision of, I'm going to have to trust what ownership is doing is what they think is best for the business, and you support that as best you can. So kind of to wrap up the question of, as IT professionals, is it our job to protect the business from itself? The answer is yes and no. The answer is yes in the fact that our job is advisory and we're trying to help the business reach its goals and such. And the answer is no in the fact that if you feel you must go so far as to actively work against what ownership is doing for the business to protect itself, you need to take a step back and ask yourself, why are you doing this? Because ultimately the ownership, it's their business. And while you might disagree with the decision that's made, it's ultimately their business, and they live and die by those decisions and such. So I'm curious if you have any experience with this. You've been in situations where the business is having you do X and you think X is not the best way to go. How have you yourself handled that? Feel free to leave that in the comments. I would love to hear it, because I might find some strategies that would work better for me when I'm in those situations, and others would enjoy hearing them as well. Again, I want to thank you for taking the time to watch. Thanks again to returning subscribers for taking the time to watch another video. Remember, if you enjoyed the content, click like, also subscribe to the channel and ring the bell, and I'll see you the next time.